After 20 years of trying, after 93 races without a win, Kyle Busch just did something nobody saw coming. He won the pole for the Daytona 500. Let that sink in for a second. 20 years, 2 full decades of Kyle Busch showing up to Daytona, giving it everything he had, and walking away without the top starting spot. Until now. This isn't just any pole position. This is the Daytona 500, the biggest race in NASCAR, the Super Bowl of stock car racing. And Kyle Busch, one of the best drivers of his generation, had never started this race from the #1 spot. Not once. Not until February 11th, 2026. The man they call Rowdy finally broke through, and he did it driving for Richard Childress Racing, his new team. This is his first pole with RCR, his first pole at Daytona ever, and it comes at a time when a lot of people had started to doubt him. This pole means even more for Richard Childress Racing. This is RCR's first Daytona 500 pole since Austin Dillon grabbed it back in 2014. 12 years. That's how long this team has waited to start NASCAR's biggest race from the front row, and now Kyle Busch has delivered it for them. 93 races. That's how long it's been since Kyle Busch won a race. Almost 2 full seasons without a trip to victory lane. The critics were getting louder. The questions were piling up. Is he done? Has he lost it? Was leaving Joe Gibbs Racing a mistake? Then he goes out and does this. Chase Briscoe will start next to him on the front row, driving the number 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Briscoe made the move to JGR for the 2026 season following the closure of Stewart-Haas Racing. But all eyes are on Busch right now, because this pole position means more than just starting first. It gives Kyle his best shot ever at winning the one race that's escaped him his entire career. 0 for 20. That's Kyle Busch's record in the Daytona 500. 20 times he's tried. 20 times he's come up short. He's won championships. He's won at almost every track on the circuit. He's got over 60 Cup Series wins. But the Daytona 500? That trophy has never been his. While Kyle celebrated his breakthrough, other drivers were dealing with their own drama. Noah Gragson just threw away his best shot at the Daytona 500 by putting his hand in the wrong place for about 3 seconds. During qualifying, Gragson was flying around the track when NASCAR officials spotted something they didn't like. He had his hand on the window net during his qualifying run. NASCAR made a brand new rule for 2026 that says you can't touch the window net during qualifying, and Gragson broke that rule. The penalty was harsh. NASCAR threw out his qualifying time completely. Instead of starting up front where he earned his spot, Gragson now has to start at the very back of his dual race. Why does touching a window net matter so much? It all comes down to aerodynamics. When Gragson put his hand on that net, he changed how the air moved around the car. He pushed the net outward slightly, which changed the shape of the car just enough to possibly give him a speed advantage. Nobody knows for sure if Gragson did this on purpose or if it was an accident. The debate on social media has been wild. Fans are split right down the middle. Some people are calling Gragson dumb for trying something so risky. Others are saying it was actually pretty smart, and he only looks dumb because he got caught. But if you think Gragson had it bad, wait until you hear what happened to Cory LaJoie. Sometimes in racing, it's not about being slow, it's about being 0.004 of a second too slow, and that's exactly what happened to Cory LaJoie at Daytona. 0.004 seconds. That's the time it takes you to blink your eye. Actually, it's way less than that. It's basically nothing. But in NASCAR, it was everything. Because that tiny little margin just cost Cory LaJoie his spot in the Daytona 500. 45 drivers showed up, all fighting for a spot in the biggest race of the year. Cory went out there and put down a fast lap, really fast. He came back to the garage thinking he had done enough. Everything looked good. They were in, or so they thought. Then Justin Allgaier went out for his qualifying run, and when that checkered flag fell, the times came up on the board. Allgaier had beaten LaJoie by 0.004 seconds. 0.004, that's it. People around the garage are calling this the most brutal beat of Speed Weeks, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that, because 0.004 seconds isn't even really racing. It's just cruel. Now, Cory LaJoie isn't out of the Daytona 500 completely. But his path just got way harder. Instead of being locked in and relaxed, he now has to race his way into the field through the dual races. If something goes wrong, he doesn't make the Daytona 500, period. Cory LaJoie drives for Spire Motorsports. They're not one of the huge mega teams with unlimited money and resources. Missing the Daytona 500 would be a huge blow. Not just for pride, but for sponsors, for exposure, for everything. While LaJoie dealt with Heartbreak and Gragson faced penalties, one driver was making everyone take notice for all the right reasons. The Daytona 500 just got a whole lot more interesting, and it's all because of a 23-year-old kid who just made every veteran driver in the garage look slow. Cory Heim walked into Daytona this week as a rookie trying to make NASCAR's biggest race. He left as the talk of the entire sport, and he did it driving for none other than Michael Jordan's 23XI racing team. Heim is what NASCAR calls an open-entry driver. That means he had to earn his spot the hard way by being fast enough to beat everyone else who didn't have a guaranteed spot, and that's exactly what he did. Heim took his number 67 Toyota out on the track for qualifying and absolutely crushed it. We're not talking about sneaking into the race by a tiny bit. We're talking about posting a speed that made people stop and say, "Wait, who is this guy?" Heim is a Truck Series champion. Winning a Truck Series championship is a huge deal, but jumping from trucks to Cup Series is like going from high school basketball to the NBA. Everything is faster, harder, and way more competitive. The fact that Heim is making this jump with 23XI Racing makes this story even better. Michael Jordan owns this team along with NASCAR driver Denny Hamlin. This year, they're running a third car, the number 67, and they picked Cory Heim to drive it for the Daytona 500. When Heim went out for qualifying, nobody really knew what to expect, but Heim didn't care about any of that. He got in his car, put down a blazing fast lap, and locked himself into the race on speed alone. No luck, no help from anybody else, just pure, raw speed. What makes this even more impressive is what it says about 23XI Racing. This isn't even one of their main two cars that race every single week. This is a third car they're running just for certain races. And yet, it's fast enough to compete with the absolute best teams in NASCAR. Michael Jordan didn't get into NASCAR just to hang out and have fun. He got in to win, just like he did in basketball. And he's putting his money where his mouth is by building fast race cars and hiring talented drivers. So here we are. Kyle Busch finally broke his 20-year pole drought and delivered Richard Childress Racing their first Daytona 500 pole in 12 years. He now has his best shot ever at winning the Daytona 500. Noah Gragson is starting at the back after a controversial penalty. Cory LaJoie has to race his way in after missing by 0.04 of a second. And Cory Heim, a rookie driving for Michael Jordan, just showed up and proved he belongs with the best in the world. The Daytona 500 hasn't even started yet, and we've already got enough drama to fill an entire season. That's what makes this race so special. That's why everyone watches. Because on any given Sunday at Daytona, anything can happen. And this Sunday, we're about to find out who's got what it takes to win NASCAR's biggest race.